kids, it's Cupcake Kami-sama back here. Welcome back to my kitchen and to another episode of All Thrills Baking with Cupcake Kami-sama. I am filming this Saturday before Easter, so by the time you're seeing this, Easter's probably long gone, as is what I'm making today. But there just isn't enough time to make it, edit the video, put it out there. And to be honest, it's not as if this bake is that traditionally Easter. It's just something that I fancied and something that's very Polish. What we'll be making today is a Polish cake known as drożdżówka. How do I explain drożdżówka to you? My localization instinct wants to call it a yeasty, but for whatever reason that just sounds wrong. Think of a brioche meeting crumble, because what we're essentially making is an enriched dough and a crumble topping, and that's it. Simple as. The beauty of drożdżówka is that it's very highly customizable. So if you're ever in Poland and you go to bakeries, patisseries, and you see people have them, they might be as tray bakes, or they might be individual portions. You might see the crumble only one that I'm making, which is my favorite, or you might see them with fruit or with sweet cheese. It's very easy to personalize. It's just that I am the basic bitch of drożdżówka and I like it in the simplest form possible, and no bakery that I know of nearby that does Polish stuff seems to be making it like this. So I have to make it myself. This little folded up piece of A4 paper is my recipe. I genuinely can't remember where I got it from. I think it might have been passed to me by a friend. But as you can see, it's simple enough that it can fit on half of A4. That's not even half of A4, that's half of A5. It's that simple. So let's not dwell on this. There's still tons of stuff that I need to do if I am to make Easter happen in this house. And this bit, as you might have gathered by the fact that it's enriched dough, will require a bit of kneading. So hands washed and de-ringed, apron on and adjusted. Everything that I need is laid out here. Hopefully, by the time I click my fingers, you will have click subscribe and click the bell button next to it. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. If you want to also support me by Patreon, the link for that is in the description box below. And let's get to baking. For this recipe, you'll need plain flour, an egg, some salt, sugar. I'm using caster, but it doesn't particularly matter as long as it's granulated of some sort, because then you also need powdered sugar for the crumble topping, some vanilla extract, some unsalted butter, some yeast. The recipe calls for fresh, however we're going to make do with dried. Milk, as per usual, my preference is for full fat, and for this one I'm inclined to say to stick to full fat, but semi-skimmed might work as well. Bowl, baking form, a pan for melting butter, scales, measuring spoons, and a microwavable mug if you're not intending to heat up your butter on a stove. This mug is genuinely as old as Titanic the film, and it still doesn't look a day old. Except Leo and Kate no longer look like this. This one starts off with a Google search so that I know how much dry yeast I need to do. And as it turns out, it needs a calculator, and it's roughly 4 grams. Let's round it up to 4 grams. And since it is yeast, it's probably better to be as exact as you possibly can. So 4 grams of yeast, then 125 mils of milk, which I overshot at first, so you'll see me take some away in a second. It's still not going to be exactly 125, but it's good enough. And then I'm heating the milk up in the microwave just because I don't need it to be actually hot, I just need it to not be cold. Timing it for 30 seconds using my phone that I'm filming with. And then going to test it to the touch with my finger. As I said, it doesn't need to be warm, it just needs to be not cold. All good to go. Put the yeast into the milk, stir and let it bloom whilst you get on with everything else. Gently melt 50 grams of butter. My camera didn't press record initially, so I had to redo some of the bits. And whilst you do that, measure out your flour, which you need 300 grams of. No need for sifting because we're going to be needing it later. Keeping my workspace as clean as possible. And then this is what your bloomed yeast with milk will look like. Dump it into a bowl. And essentially you'll add everything else, sugar, egg, flour, salt and butter, into it. Keeping in mind to add the butter last. I have no idea why you actually need to do it last, but the recipe says so. So just to make my life slightly easier, I'm mixing sugar and egg with the milk just a little bit before dumping all the dry ingredients. So 300 grams of flour, off it goes, and then a quarter of a teaspoon of salt before finally adding the melted butter into it. I started off mixing with a spoon just until it comes together a little bit, and once it does, then I'll get stuck in with my hands and knead it in the bowl until you get a smooth dough that comes together into a nice round ball. Like so. So ball into the bowl. Cover it with a tea towel and off into a warm place for about 90 minutes.
Later.
After that time, grease your baking form with some butter, or whatever you want to grease it with really. Get the dough out, knead it a little bit, you don't need to go overboard with it, because by pushing it into the form and spreading it out, you'll get most of the kneading that you need anyway. And once you're done doing that, you'll cover the dough back again with a tea towel and leave it for another 30 to 40 minutes.
Much later.
Towards the end of that second resting time, it's good to get your crumble topping ready, which is just butter. My recipe says a quarter of a stick of butter, which is roughly 60-ish grams, but I thought I might as well use up what I had. Then 3 tablespoons of icing sugar, 4 tablespoons of flour and some vanilla. Honestly, with the vanilla, I started off trying to measure and then I just let the spirits of my ancestors guide me. It's your crumble topping, make it as vanilla as you want it to be. And then press it all together with your fingers until it resembles breadcrumbs. Then once you're happy with the consistency, I've covered it up with a bit of tin foil and put it in the fridge until I needed it slightly later. And in that time, I've preheated the oven to roughly 180 degrees Celsius. Got some egg wash prepped, which I didn't mention that you'll need an egg for that, but you'll need an egg for some egg wash for later. Quick like this, then ta-da! Here's our dough. Cover it with egg wash, which will give it a nice glossy finish as well as help your crumble topping stick. Get the topping as evenly as possible, or as you want it really. And then I'll put it in the oven for about 25 minutes because my oven seems to be really hot. My recipe says about 35, but essentially until it's nice and golden brown. And I'll see you for the reveal the day after.
The next morning.
Here we are, the morning after. It's Easter Sunday. This is me in my Easter regalia, and this is what an Easter for one at my place looks like, with star of the show, our drożdżówka. It's a humble looking thing, it's not a looker, but she's definitely one for the taste. It's sweet, it's subtle. If you want, when you cut into it, you can cover it with butter or with jam or whatever you want. But as I mentioned, I'm a basic bitch of drożdżówka. I like it just the way it comes, and I've not had it like this for literally years. So the reaction you're about to see is genuine, it's 100% true, it's not for the camera. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of All Thrills Baking. If you end up making drożdżówka, do let me know what you think. I'm very curious as to your opinion, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye!